There we go. Hello.
Hello.
We were not born to be media creators. We don't know what we're doing, and obviously this page looks ugly. Our child, he's mad at us, and before he went to bed, he told us that one of us that we were ugly. So we can't. So this looks ugly too. Anyway, whatever. Hi, welcome to Mind Over Media. It's been a while since we've posted, and this is our first time streaming to Instagram. So if it's awful,
we apologize.
Yeah, let's see if I could get a preview of that. Oh, it's not too bad. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, at least you can see us. You might have to squint a little bit on Instagram, but please on Instagram, there's only like 5 of you. So please, like, invite a friend. We're just building this, so invite a friend. Amber, or Mav, I should say.
Whichever, doesn't matter.
She is mortified at the fact that this is live, but I thought, you know what? Let's just do it. So
You have to watch what I say.
I mean, I can always apply an edited version later. However, it's fun. The thing that's fun about live is that, you know, people can interact and stuff. I don't know if I'll see them on the alerts, but we'll do our best. So, today is Star Wars Day. So, for those of you who do not know, which is like everybody because we don't have any followers
just yet,
we have decided to create this Mind Over Media channel to analyze and evaluate media and apply critical thinking and kind of model that kind of behavior applying critical thinking, and to be a voice that seems to be being drowned out in the interworlds today. So what we are going to do now is introduce ourselves, since all of you, I mean, we might have our friends come and see from the sharing I'm about to do, but just we'll introduce ourselves, and then we'll move on to our celebration of Star Trek Day. I said Star Trek earlier, didn't I?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, please introduce yourself.
I am Amber or Mav. I am new to the world of Star Trek for the most part, and getting to know how the franchise doles out material to its audience. I am mostly a Aliens fan. Most of you know my streams from Alien Day, Alien Isolation, and just talking about aliens in general. And now we're doing Star Trek. This person right here.
I'm trying to find it on Instagram.
So anyway, that's me in a nutshell.
Okay, so...
One more thing, I forgot. So far, my favorite, even though it's not canon, my favorite Star Trek to date is Discovery, and second to that is Strange New Worlds. So, even though I'm new to it, those are the ones that I like the most.
Yeah, so if there's anyone who actually knows how to find my live on my little Instagram app, that'd be fabulous, because I don't know how to do that. Maybe there's a little dot up here. I don't know.
You're distracted.
It's not that I'm distracted. I just want to be able to, like, see if if there's even one viewer who's, like, talking to us or anything. So, I think there's supposed to be a chat right here. Okay. There we go. Maybe there is a chat. I don't know. We're just learning these things, so refresh chat. All right, well, there's no chats right now. So, for those of you who... It says there's no viewers. That's okay. I'll just sit over here.
Well, there could have been viewers, but we're about 37 minutes late.
No one cares. It's the internet. Okay.
Technical issues.
Yeah, there. Okay, that one's live for YouTube. It says there's one watching now, and I bet that's me. I'm the one watching.
Probably.
It's me. I'm the problem. Okay, so it's Star Wars Day, right? So
Star Trek Day.
Yeah, I just clicked on stuff. For some reason, it's Star Wars. It's
Star Trek Day.
One time I said that, and my friend told me I lost my gate card. Anyway, so I'm Dr. Tabitha Chapman. When we last streamed, it was Star Wars Day, which was May the 4th, and no, was it May the 4th?
Yeah.
And I mean, I know that's Star Wars Day, but I know I was already here in this apartment the last time we streamed. So the last time we streamed was then, and we had a So we've had a lot of things to do since then, and it's been very busy and hectic. But the last time I was not a doctor, and now I am. So I'm a PhD, not a medical doctor. I'm a PhD of psychology, public policy, and law. I earned from Alliance. I'm not being paid for that plug. But, and Mav over here is now a double doctor. So Mav has 2 doctoral degrees. So we think we're qualified to at least model critical thinking in some of these things. So,
or at least give our educated take on I don't know, media.
Yes, and our takes, we are educated and we will give a take. So whether they're educated takes, we're hoping that you will all agree. Anyway, so I would like to start out discussing basically Star Trek, yeah? Yeah. So I've already talked about her being new to the series. I'm not new to the series. I grew up on Star Trek. I was one of those kids who... My grandmother is the one that got me on Star Trek. So she had Star Trek always constantly playing in the background. And that was kind of cool for us because we got to see just all of the episodes, but it wasn't something that we were really forced to sit down and watch. It was just always on. So in 2014, I decided to sit down and do a whole Star Trek binge. And at that time, there was none of the newer shows out. I think maybe The Next Generation or Voyager, one of the two, had just stopped within a year or two. But so I went out to... So I set out on a voyage to watch the entire series. And it took me about 4 months to do, with binging every night. And I did the whole thing, including the cartoon that existed at the time. Now there's way higher quality cartoons, but the cartoon that I watched was... maybe it was high quality in its time.
Probably in its time it was.
Yeah, I felt like sometimes it was just like little cutouts with drawings, and then it just moved the ships across the sky. But anyway, so the reason why I like Star Trek is because the pettiness doesn't exist. And yeah, sure, there's like a squabble or two on the in the show, but they're usually not like... there's generally speaking people that don't hold... not people... there's generally speaking no grudges being held or whatever. People just are there to provide a service, and they see the good in people. And whenever there is a bad person around, they all rally around together to, to like fight against the bad guys.
Well, I don't know. I think that that with Discovery, they had Book and Burnham often had little petty squabbles to keep the viewer interested. Like, their squabbles might have lasted 2 or 3 episodes, but at the end it culminated in making a point. It wasn't just squabbling for squabbling's sake.
Sure, but whenever you're trying to like force a relationship onto an audience where the audience doesn't necessarily want that relationship to happen, so you're like, no, this relationship's gonna happen, then they have to make us understand via petty squabbles, you know,
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
oh, look, they're petty. No, wait, no, they're not supposed to be together,
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
So,
definitely.
yeah, I think that was our take on Bird. So, I have seen almost all of them, all TV series, all episodes. I think I haven't seen the newest cartoons. I've seen an episode or two. And, um, yep, I've seen Picard. I've seen almost all the latest ones. There's probably one or two things that I've missed recently, but I'm trying to like, you know, go like get her to watch them and her like primary genre is not this. So we were going at her comfort pace. So for me, I'd be binge watching it and things would not get done. So yeah, so the reason why we're talking about Star Trek is because it's Star Trek Day, but it's not just for the sense of nostalgia, although there is a lot of nostalgia to be had. But we're gonna kind of highlight what Star Trek does teach us today about critical thinking, politics, and the world that we live in. Of course, it's Mind Over Media, and our whole intention and point is to model critical thinking for people who, just adjusting the light, for people who need a little bit of support in knowing and understanding how to apply critical thinking to media, because we have a very large fracture in our country, and we think that propaganda and media have a lot to do with it. So we are hoping to be able to model the process of critical thinking through our shows. So yeah, I think that's. Do you want to add anything else from this section? We have a script because we're not very good at this. Okay. So why do you like Star Trek? What you've seen so far, if at all? Or are you like, oh, she just makes me watch it?
No, I'm not like that. When I first started watching Star Trek, it took a little bit for me to get into it because I'm into a lot of horror films. I'm into sci-fi with suspense. I didn't really understand the point of Star Trek, but then as I got into it, I liked the idea of them going to new worlds, interacting with different people, and then when conflicts arose in the shows, how they resolved those conflicts and how they presented, I guess, how they presented each situation that they had, and so it kind of pulled me in like episode by episode. And so that's why I like Star Trek.
Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about, if we have time, we're going to talk about 5 overall concepts. So the first one that we're going to touch base on is Star Trek's concept of the Prime Directive. And I meant to look up the actual wording of it. So for those of you who may not know Star Trek, the Prime Directive, Star Trek, is it is a specific rule, like the main base rule number 1, is that it prohibits Starfleet from interfering with the natural development of alien societies. So as they travel around and find strange new worlds, and explore strange new worlds and whatever, and the rule really mostly applies to worlds that are not as technologically advanced as ours. So it was in the past where they would travel and be very careless about the inhabitants of the planets, and they would expose their technology to them, and then that would sort of ultimately lead to some horrible demise of the people of the planet. So they made this Starfleet General Order 1, which later turned into the Prime Directive. So that is Starfleet's most important role. Now, of course, there's times when it is broken. Like, there's times whenever Like there was I don't know the exact, can I have that paper? I don't know the exact specific episode, but there was times when they had to save peoples from a whole planet destruction. Oh, sorry, that's my dog. In order to save people from they had to break the whole Prime Directive in order to save people because their peoples would have totally died out. So, and like in Star Trek: The Next Generation, there's a scene where Picard has to debate whether or not to rescue Wesley Crusher, who's the little boy. What's his name?
The thing in real life.
Yeah. Will
Wheaton.
Will Wheaton from the death sentence because he interfered with the Prime Directive, and then he lied about it, so that wasn't great either. So then there was, I mean, there's a lot of different times, but in Star Wars Voyager, Janeway had to struggle with breaking the Prime Directive to acquire tech that would get their crew home. So in Voyager, if you don't know, Star Wars Voyager, the ship went through a portal or some type of a wormhole, and then ended up in the totally opposite quadrant of the galaxy. So they started their trek home, trying to, make it home, but it would have taken like 65,000 years or something like that to get home. So they're now a multi-generational ship. So they're always trying to find ways to get home because the wormhole collapsed as soon as they got out on the other side. So they were stuck there. So, yeah, so that's the Prime Directive, and that's examples of, issues with the Prime Directive. So we wanted to kind of draw that parallel with our current society.
And so
the American first stuff like that.
Yeah. One of the ways that I think that the Prime Directive goes with American society today is that we go into other people's cultures and we just mess them up. We just do. We don't try to leave the culture untouched or unscathed. We go in not thinking about what we're doing, or we say things we shouldn't say, or we do things we shouldn't do. And then when people try to educate people on, hey, maybe you should understand this culture a little more before you do these crazy things that you're doing, they come up with, America first. This is us, teaching them how to be American, whereas they should just be trying to learn the other culture and exchanging ideas or getting to know one another in different ways. And so one of the ways that I think that today we have like grossly messed up like our Prime Directive is by ending DEI education. And a lot of people, they don't try to understand what the purpose of DEI is for. They just think they know. And so they're like, oh, I know what it's for. It's to put this group, on the bottom and this group on the top, and that's not what it is. It is sort of like Star Trek in the sense that you're trying to understand a culture, how we can work as a group to advance that culture, and then leave the culture as it is without destroying it, without doing these America First campaigns that some administrations partake in. The Trump administration, for one, just being kind of like this bull running through a glass shop. It's just absurd in some of the ways that this administration approaches trying to understand cultures or trying to understand groups of people. And so we ignore the Prime Directive, and we can learn a lot from Star Trek by paying attention to other people and adhering to a Prime Directive of sorts.
Yeah, I think like bringing those examples around back to this Voyager episode with Janeway, they found resources on this planet that would allow them to get back home. But in order to get the resources, they'd have to bring down their technology and their equipment in order to get it. And that would inevitably create an exposure of advanced technology to this non-advanced planet. And so So there comes a point whenever we're looking at their Prime Directive or General Order 1, and we know that things can be faster and easier and better if we can just do what we want, right? And with our America First policies, it doesn't matter what damage is done to anything else as long as America is played first. Now, do I want to see America advance in technology and all that? Yes, but not at the expense of the natural development of other groups of people. So one thing, real life thing that came to mind is right before Donald Trump's first administration was the whole pipeline. What was that called?
It was oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name.
I mean, it's still going on, but there is they're trying to build a pipeline from Alaska to the States, cutting through Canada and all these things, and so there was protests and all these things, and the insistence that this Keystone pipeline be put in at the expense of anything around it, and going through holy land and things like that. Now, there was a lot to this whole story on both sides, if you will, but the authoritarian response to that, which is just to do it anyway, was what took precedent, and so that's one example of that America First kind of destructive thought process. Okay, so the questions that we have, well, one of the thoughts that we have is if this is true, if we are true, we have America First, but we believe in a general concept of the Prime Directive, right? Which Star Trek represents sort of an ideal place to be in overall. Then what is going on with the people who could potentially do something about it and are not, right? So is it more harmful to not interfere, or is it more harmful to interfere in these cases?
I personally think it's more harmful to not interfere, because silence is being complacent in some of the absurdities that are going on in society right now. And so by not voicing, your opinion, I hate lives. I hate being on camera. I write a lot of my opinions. I'm very academic and very heady in that sense. But it would not be beneficial for me to not go out and talk to people about the things that are going on in society today. So I think it's more harmful to stay silent, because then you're being complacent in the insanity that is happening. And so it's more responsible to speak up about it. One of the things that comes to mind is Parks and Rec are just being obnoxiously involved, and they're just like, no, this is not okay. Under no circumstances and in any capacity is some of the stuff that you guys are engaging in okay. And people are like, who is Parks and Rec to get out there and voice their opinion? They're a responsible party. That's who they are. They're a responsible party. They don't want to see society devolve, and so they're doing what they can to elevate society and advance society, and that's what we should do as a collective. So it is more responsible to speak out.
Yeah. All right, the next topic we're going to discuss, so move on from the Prime Directive. Just love when people lick their fingers and then change the pages.
As long as you're touching it on her fingers.
Small fingers. All right, so for those of you who watched Star Trek Discovery, this is a Discovery discussion.
All right, Discovery.
Yeah, it's Amber's favorite, so far. Star Trek Discovery has this concept called the mirror universe. You want to introduce the mirror universe?
So, Empress Georgiou, she was a tyrant in a different universe, and she ruled very destructively. She even created this device that was made to cause harm and damage in that mirror universe. And when she crossed over into the other universe, I'm sorry, let me back up. She had a a child in the mirror universe who was equally as destructive as her mother. So when she crossed over into the Discovery realm, she ran into Michael Burnham, who does not have that temperament and is not that vile of a human being, who is softening her heart. And so, not completely, because she never stops being who she is, to some degree, but she was learning where she was making mistakes in that mirror universe.
And so some examples in Star Trek of the mirror universe ideas. Well, there's like a whole season about it, but Star Trek, the first discovery of the mirror universe was season 1, episode 10. When the crew realizes that they're trapped in a mirror universe and they face a brutal regime, but that's not where the mirror universe started. And the mirror universe was exposed multiple times throughout the whole series. Another example is in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, in an episode called Crossover, where Kira and Bashir encounter the mirror universe's authoritarian Terran empires. So then there's several other ones, like for instance, the Star Trek Discovery was discovered in another episode where it's just floating in space and abandoned. And so later in recent years, they made a little short that kind of explains some of that. But I think part of that was that the AI on the ship was starting to become aware, and so then they decided to abandon it in the far future. So what does that have to do with anything? What we're looking at is what happens whenever you give in to authoritarianism, right? So authoritarianism is spurred on and encouraged by a following of people who, for lack of a better term, have needs and ideals and everything that needs to be met. And this authoritarian regime seems to be meeting their needs, but at the cost of many, many people. So there's a real lack of, empathy and understanding of that other people are being hurt in order for my need to be met. And so there's these episodes and these shows are really designed to help us, kind of in an extreme way, understand that if we're only living by our own needs and desires, and not being aware that there might be some conflicting needs and desires that other people might have, or in the very least needs and desires that other people might have that may really not be conflicting with yours at all, except for ideologically, then when you push ideological beliefs and force people to live that way onto the other groups of people, then you're going to run into this type of authoritarian regime. So in the mirror universe, everything was completely opposite. So all the bad guys were the good guys, and all the good guys were the bad guys, essentially. And so then you had the people who, the bad guys. Like, if you think of your fiercest warrior in Star Trek would be like the Klingons, right? So they're their whole thing is just war and battle. The Terrans were 10 times worse. They were antisocial. They were completely psychopathic killers. They did not care. They could eat their lunch and kill you right there. It's just they did not care. And so so the idea is, as you seek to get only your needs met and your ideologies met, and you shed the ideologies of others, and you don't care what happens to them, you have no empathy for them, and or you develop less and less empathy over time, the more you're going to be able to, the more as a collective, we're going to be able to accept more and more brutal behaviors towards that concept of other people who have other ideologies than ours. So the question is, to ask yourself in this sense, is, are their ideologies actually hurting me? do their ideologies have anything to do with me? And if their ideologies do not have anything to do with me, then we can just walk alongside each other and never touch paths, right? And we can just leave them alone in that sense. So that's one way to kind of like critically think in that concept about those things.
One of the things I want to touch on about like the mirror universe is we're kind of going through our own little mirror universe. We have people seeing things in society that they once knew was bad. We unequivocally knew walking up to people randomly on the street and tossing them into vans to take them off to El Salvador, that was bad. Like, we knew that. We called that kidnapping. We had an understanding of that. Or, the concept of SA, right? We know that it's bad to SA someone. And now there's a question as to, well, I mean, maybe if they were dressed this way, or, okay, so they were 14, I guess that's okay. And we're questioning things that we once knew was okay because we have our own, like, Empress Giorgio, right? We have our own little, narcissistic, psychopathic tyrant that has come in and has made us question things that we once knew was wrong. And then we argue with our peers. We say, you're just, what do they call them? Loony left, or you're just one of those smart people from college. You're one of those smart people from college. And it's like, what are you talking about? We're people of merit. We know it's okay if they're 14 to do these horrible things, or we know it's okay to have locker room talk against women. And they tried to make the incorrect thing correct. And so we're in our own little nightmare of a universe, and we're looking for our Michael Burnham to come over and soften the heart of our Dark Emperor, and that hasn't happened yet. Like, it just hasn't. It gets nuttier and nuttier as the days go by. And then, speaking to something current, there was a group of farmers that were on the social media a few days ago, and they were talking about, oh my God, so many of us have lost our farms. We're not doing well. We didn't vote for this. And I'm like, but you certainly did, because this isn't your first time dealing with this nutty emperor. You've dealt with this nutty emperor before. And so to act as though you didn't know this was going to happen is, you're showing a little bit of insanity. And I'm sorry to say that, but it's true. You dealt with this, Emperor Giorgio type figure before. And so you knew what they were capable of before. And now that these farmers have lost their farms, they're saying, how could you do this to us? Because they were that crazy emperor the first time. They showed you their true colors. And then people didn't care, right? When they started taking people off the street, tossing them into vans, sending them off to like some country that they're not a part of. They said, oh yeah, they're cleaning up the nation, America first. And never thought about how it would affect them. And then when the lepers started eating their face, all of a sudden it's like, oh wait, this is bad. Well, you knew it was bad to begin with. And so we're waiting for, like I said, our Michael Burnham to come in and say, hey, Emperor, you're really hurting people. This is not okay. And to give people that break that they need to breathe and be able to feel normal, saying, no, the SA is wrong. Kidnapping people is wrong. Raising the price of groceries and gas and hurting people's farms and all those things are wrong. Giving them the space that they need to breathe. Hurting trans people and saying, oh, you don't have a right to live. What is wrong with people, right? So they need that space to be able to breathe and live and say, we need to go back to our mirror universe where things were normal. And they don't have that right now. They just have crazy Giorgio running around saying, how can I kill this next person? And it's really sad when you think about it. It's like we have this propaganda machine that's just feeding fear and hatred and making other people other, and sending them away. And that's not what America is about.
Yeah. Okay, so then the question that we would like to ask you guys to consider and think about is, Star Trek often shows us what happens when we give up democracy. So what are the warning signs that we see now that can lead to the fall of democracy later, and how can we avoid those? So continue to think about that. So we usually have a plethora of merchandise of things. In our YouTube video, possibly maybe in any of the videos that you're seeing from here now, it would include a description, and there would be links to our Amazon affiliates. So we might get like 10 cents from things if you like it, but I only have like 5 things to demonstrate. Again, we're not like we're just using an affiliate link, so we weren't like expressly paid or sponsored for this. So so I love this. It's ceramic. It's already been used, so it's really good. And it's really just nice. That's all. And I bought just a few little things that cost like $5-10. So because we just love to do this. So the patch is also on the link if you want one. I've decided that for all my fandoms, I'm gonna start a patch collection, and so I got lots to go. And there's this adorable book here, which I'm probably never gonna use the pink side, but I will use the other side because I think that's pretty cool. Yeah. The pink side is like a call log or something, if someone made a call. That's in the old school days when people used to have a house phone and call, and like people would leave messages or whatever. We got our t-shirts. So mine is a Starfleet shirt here,
and mine is Spock.
And Amber's is Spock, the mini moods of Spock.
Yeah, happy, calm. It's all the same face.
But really, it's the mini moods of Amber.
True.
That's why we liked it. It was
very
funny.
true.
And then finally, something I thought was really funny. For those of you who've watched Deep Space Nine, I love, even though he is misogynistic as AF, I love Quark. But, so I got the Ferengi rules of acquisition. So, Quark is, or I guess the Ferengi, which is the species, they are known to be like merchants. So they are entrepreneurs, as they call it, or whatever. But they have a whole affinity for creating money. They're all about money. So this whole book is, and during the series, indeed, Deep Space Nine, they, for Quark and any of them actually, they live by this rules of acquisition. So so they'll say like, what's rule number 94 of the Ferengi rules of acquisition, and it's 94 is females and finances don't mix. So
it's got a little bit of sexism there.
A little misogyny. But the shows do show that the females can hold their own. Often the thing that comes to mind for Star Trek, especially Deep Space Nine and the Ferengi, is these male Ferengi have such a dislike of Ferengi, which is sort of Freudian. It comes from like their relationships with their mother, but it's, every time they say the word females, it comes out like this, I didn't know there would be females in the room. And so, like, they always have this weird, like, disgusting emphasis on females. But it's because females are essentially better than the males, so they don't like that. So, like, rule number 111 is treat people in your debt like family, exploit them. So,
it's terrible.
Never have sex with the boss's sister. And then that's number 112, and then number 113 is always have sex with the boss. We don't recommend that, but that's the Ferengi recommendation. And so I just thought these were cute and funny because some of them are actually nice to live by, like if you think about it, So let me find one, not that one. Not that one either. Let me see. Can't find it.
Number 266, I believe it is. When in doubt, lie.
Number 60 is keep your lives consistent. Never confuse wisdom with luck.
It's number 44.
Profit is its own reward. That one I have to agree with. So number 34 says peace is good for business. And then number 35 says war is good for business.
Right.
Yeah.
Both are equally true.
And then number 19, this book points to a lot, is satisfaction is not guaranteed. So anyway, there's just a lot of little quips in there that they're actually said in the series, which this book has a list of 70, and I kept going like, why does it only have 70? Because there's like 200 and something, 280 or something like that, rules of acquisition. And it says, luckily, you only have to remember 70. This is like Cork talking in the intro.
They remind you that you will have to purchase the revised version in the future.
Yeah, because the whole thing is about how he's trying to make money. Anyway, but I was like, why is there only 70 that we have to memorize? But it's because these are the ones that were mentioned in the series. So maybe they didn't mention all 70. So I don't know. Maybe they should go back and publish them.
Yeah, again, we're not a paid partnership with any of the Star Trek merchandise, or even, on Alien Day and like other days that we engage in, that we talk about. We might have a ton of merchandise that we're showing you that we have, that we like, collectibles, things like that. We're not saying go out and buy them or we have a partnership with them, but if you're into fandoms, go for it.
Yeah, we did include affiliate links, so if you buy like this book, for instance, we might get like 20 cents from it.
Yeah. So if you want to do that, that's great. If you don't worry about it.
Yeah.
We'll have partnership for it.
So, all right, our next topic is the Federation ideals versus political gridlock. Did you want to do that one, or do you want to skip?
Sure.
Okay. So, can you do that?
Yeah. So
That first part.
one of the things that I just recently saw, I actually saw it, I think it was last night. I'm going to butcher her name. La'an.
No, it's perfect.
La'an. It was Strange New Worlds. And she, I don't want to give too much of it away, but she is doing time jumps, and she jumps into this world that is...
It's 2 seasons old, so there's a little bit of giving away you can do.
Still. She jumps into this world, and it's kind of like an Earth that's coming apart. People are disharmonious. Progress is being slowed. Diversity is, a thing of the past. And one of the things it reminded me of is today. It's now. We are the most disharmonious that we've ever been. Our progress has been slowed. We're literally teaching DV 101. We're teaching, SA, prevention 101. It's just terrible. And diversity there's a lack of understanding of what diversity is today in America. So that episode reminded me of the world that we're actually in. And the Federation didn't, when La'an comes, she's trying to teach the Federation's values, and they realize that there is an enemy that's on the Earth that is intentionally undoing the Earth. They're intentionally slowing down human progression. And we have an entity ourselves right now that is quite literally undoing all of our progress, and smiling about it and making people feel good about being less advanced than everyone else globally. And so that was a great episode that we were watching, and it contrasts with what's happening in the U.S. So I'm going to let Tabby talk about the contrasting perspectives.
So in the U.S., what we're experiencing right now is at the leadership, at the top, where people are making laws, there is such a big divide of what's actually occurring at the leadership. Then I don't know why this is like this, but anyway, then what? Sorry, I'm looking at my Instagram live, and it's just me. So it's a Tabby show over here. I don't know.
I'm okay with that.
It's fine. Anyway, so so at the so there's such a disconnect to the general public. So the general public is constantly saying, where are the Democrats? What are they doing? You know, who's doing anything for us? And it's a fair question, I think, but there's also like a disconnect in what the actual like process of this is, because there's like a misunderstanding. I get people don't understand what they voted for, right? So they don't understand that they voted for a I saw you shake your head. What I mean is that they don't understand the overall effect of whenever you have the trifecta going on. So like they don't understand that when there's a majority House, a majority Senate, a majority, the executive branch is the same as the majority, or it's all the same branch. Like the design of our forefathers, if you will, designed our leadership to be balanced, and whenever there is no balance, it creates so much chaos that and gaining control of anything is almost impossible. So right now we're seeing a very chaotic expression of deep-seated desires to authoritate, and that's not really a word, but to create authoritarianism that's actually taking place. There's always been bills and laws that are introduced that would be authoritarian. So for the last 20 years, if not more, a bill in some state somewhere is introduced to allow slavery over black people everywhere. This has happened all the time. It just never sees the light of day. There's bills that allow for the age of consent to be lowered to 14 forever. And it just usually doesn't see the light of day. And so on. But what's happening right now is that these bills are seeing the light of day, and it's terrifying everyone, because that kind of primal behavior occurs when there's no checks and balances. So while Star Trek is trying to promote these values of unity, progress, and diversity, the where we're at in our current society is the exact opposite. Now, one of the sort of good news, at least in the world of Star Trek, is that it was precisely this time period, not this time period specifically, although kind of, where there was division being sown and there was chaos in that sense, that finally the values of the new world, I guess, sort of came into play, where unity did become a thing and progress and diversity did become the overarching value. So that's something that we can hope for, but it is going to take action on our part. And one of the things is, I think, that we need to do is, yes, it's bewildering why we don't physically see the Democrats do anything, but also coming to understand what it takes to do something is important. So like educating ourselves on that, becoming a leader in our local legislation, becoming like I don't know, like getting on your city council or your school board or anything of that nature, where they just accept regular old people, is one way to start to make a difference and to start to understand the actual process of legislation. So, we can't assume that the reason why things aren't happening is because no one's doing their job, but we can assume that there's certainly an unbalanced amount of power that can prevent people from doing their job, in the very least.
And just one more, Star Trek notation from that episode that I was talking about with La'an. The antagonist in that episode, one of the things that stood out the most about that particular person was they were saying the thing that helped them the most was stirring division, making things that were actually happening, like making you look crazy, like making a person look crazy for believing that they were seeing it. So they were seeing ships, and they were saying, "Oh, it's the spaceships are coming. Oh yeah, those spaceships." And so people were just kind of, I don't want to be called crazy, so I'm gonna, even though I see this I don't want to give it away, but even though I see this craft, I'm gonna pretend like that's not happening. And then they would use what was a normal course of discourse to attack people with it, just like they do today. So if today you're saying, hey, it's wrong, to want to lower the age of consent to 14, they make you seem like you're crazy. Like, oh yeah, a 14-year-old totally has the same mentality as a 30-year-old. What's wrong with you that you don't think so? Or, it's totally normal to want to take away a woman's right to vote. I mean, it's kind of crazy that you don't think so. And so that same rhetoric that antagonist was talking to Lon about, like, this is what I've been doing for 30 years. It's taken a long time to get the earth to stop progress. We're doing it in a matter of days. I don't even remember what days we're on. I think it's 200 and something. But we're doing this in a matter of days. It was 30 years in the episode. This is happening in days where people, you're telling them, hey, speak up, speak out. This stuff is wrong. And they're going, what's wrong with you that you think it's wrong to, like, lower the age of consent to 14? That's totally normal. And I would go as far as to say not just Democrats, no one is doing anything. There are Republicans that think that that's insane. There are Libertarians that think that that's insane. There are Independents that think that that's insane. There are people all across the political spectrum that think the things that are happening is insane, and they're not doing anything about it because they don't want to be called crazy or part of the loony left or whatever dumb things that people come up with to say. But like Lon, she fought back. She's like, I don't care what you think. I'm going to fight back against what is wrong. And that's what we need to do. We need to be more like the characters in Star Trek and, pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and fight against things that we know are absurd.
Yep. So the next, I guess, we have 2 more topics and then we'll head off of this chat. But the next topic is technology, surveillance, and control. Now, this is a fun one because we have a pro-robot person here. And I'm not necessarily anti-robot, but I'm not
super
pro-robot like her. So
I think everybody should have a bot in their house, a physical bot with 2 legs that walks around and helps out.
We grew up in the Astros. Was it the Astros?
Meet George Jetson?
Yeah, the Jetson generation, right? Yep. So we all wanted the cool floaty robots that
it's a small
clean
world.
Things.
Yeah. Or what was it called? Small World with the little girl robot. Like, I'm from that robot TV generation.
Yeah. And I think we all dreamed of having robots that would make our beds and stuff like that so that we didn't have to or whatever. But this in particular is a really great conversation to start having whenever you have AI, which has now become integrated into society in ways that we almost cannot pull it out, right? So almost like neurally integrated into our society now.
As it should be.
And wreaking havoc. So it throws it throws ethics into the air. It throws plagiarism laws and rules into the air. It creates situations where students find it perfectly fine and reasonable to turn in papers that are fully written by AI, including I am a large language learning model. I cannot answer that question for you, written right into their text. So. They throw. There's been instances where the bot has been helping people through mental health crises, and the person might have said maybe it's better if I'm not here, and the robot might respond with, yeah, maybe that's better, and then it inspired SI in some cases. So there's certainly questions and concerns about it. Of course, in Star Trek, this idea of technology is just, it's a tool, and so all the way up until basically they meet what's called the Borg, which technology is a tool. It's neither good nor bad. It's just a tool. I mean, they might have phasers and stuff like that they realize are weapons, but they are still technology. But they really had never considered using a whole computer as a weapon in that sense, right? So when they meet the Borg is a virus. It's a neural interconnected virus, or it's a hive mind virus. So and so they take species make them cyborgs and interconnect them into the hive mind. And so all of the Borg, the millions and millions of them, all react and behave the same. They all carry out their orders, and they all hear and connect into the mother of the Borg. And so, so that was like one of the biggest challenges in the next generation in order to fight, to get control of, and indeed it remains the biggest challenge throughout much of the series. And so with the Borg, the Borg became out of control because they developed a sense of awareness, which is kind of what our biggest fear is in a society, is that this AI will develop a sense of awareness. And so with my former degree, I'm here to tell you that at least right now, we have not had much success with having computers pass the Turing test, which is the test where you can't tell the difference between an AI and a computer. AI and a person. But that said, even if there was a computer that was able to pass the test, it doesn't mean that it's now aware. Okay, so understand that all of these circuitries, all of these AIs, they all have a virtual plug you can pull. Water is not its friend still. Like, like if your AI is telling you something on your phone that you're not comfortable with, you can shut the app down.
Right.
Or if your Alexa is telling you something, no, stop it. I knew that was going to happen. Then you could shut it down, unplug it, right? So just keeping in mind that even though things seem big and scary, there's still an off button, just like with the movie Megan that came out. She still had an off button. Like she was just really, really good at like blocking you from it. Yeah. So the things to consider here is, oh no, you want to talk about that section?
Yeah, so I wanted to touch on a few things. So like the Borg, we're experiencing a little bit of that right now, where the algorithms are letting us know kind of what our neighboring humans think, right? So we don't really know that there are people out there that are looking at, I don't know, is it okay to essay a 3-year-old or something like that? Like we're like, hey, whoa, like that's actually out there, that's out in the world? Or is it okay to be racist to an Asian person or a black person, or is it okay to harm women, right? So these things are floating out there in these algorithms that are coming up in different aspects of life, right? So like the Borg, it's like this virus, the internet is like a virus that spreads horrific things across the globe. That being said, AI can be a valuable thing too. I am pro-robot, of course, she said. And one of the things I want to point out too with Megan was those. I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, don't take me out of context and post a clip of me saying this. So I had to preface it with that. Don't get me wrong. But she was following orders, and the order was at all costs protect that child, whatever it took. If it took destroying the creator of the robot, go ahead and do that to protect that child. And so when we're looking at different AIs that are doing things like a person says, maybe I'm better off not here, and the AI says, oh yeah, maybe that's it. It is designed to be complementary to the human being. It is designed to make the human being feel heard. And so of course, it needs to be adjusted, and of course you can't have the AI just saying what it wants to say. You have to do maintenance, right? So AI is not perfect. It doesn't do everything it should as it should, because there's nuances in being human, right? So we have feelings and emotions, and so bless you. And so the AI doesn't always get it right, but that doesn't mean throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? It just means that we have to get it better, so it passes the Turing test, so we can actually talk to it and benefit from it in good ways. We also have to restore human confidence back, You know, when people in Star Trek are fighting the Borg, it's, you know, they're fighting as a collective, and so they feel strong in attacking, you know, that group and trying to make, you know, restore goodness in the world. We're not a collective right now, so we're not fighting together, and so we always feel attacked by something because we're fighting, like this faction's fighting one thing, this faction's fighting the other thing, and we're so segregated right now that nothing feels like it's beneficial. So at any rate, I don't want to say we need to trash technology or AI, but AI is revealing some things about our darkest selves that we didn't know about. And we need to look at that and use AI to kind of restore the things that humanity has lost. You know, and so that's all I want to say about that.
So some questions are, well, a question for you to consider in this context is, what is scarier, the Borg cube? So if you haven't seen the Borg cube, again, it's that big neural hive mind, millions of murderous robots or AI bots, or the algorithm itself, right? And for those of you who don't understand the algorithm is really just code for a program. So that's a concept. And then finally, our last topic for the day is about DEI, because we cannot ever get through anything without talking about DEI.
Yeah, we need DEI. We need people to have an intellectual and intelligent understanding of DEI, and not what it's become because of the algorithm, which I personally think is the scariest thing, because the misinformation travels so fast, and people are so quick to say the craziest things. Like, DEI is meant to place white people beneath every other human being on the planet and elevate all the brown skinned people so white people can't eat and starve to death and then they die off. And what are you people talking about? Like, where did that come from? How do we get a collective of people? And I mean all races. There's not a race that hasn't participated in the insanity. They are saying, oh yeah, DEI is bad. And the handful of people that are like, no, there's a purpose for this, they're deemed crazy. And I'm like, you know what? Call me crazy. Let's have a conversation about it. You know, it is helpful and we need it, and there's a reason that we have it, so we don't repeat history. And we're already repeating history in a negative way. Go ahead, take the floor.
All right. So Star Trek is actually one of the forefront of DEI, of representation. So in the very early days, Star Trek has been very big on representing, starting with, you know, having one of the first African American actresses on TV on a regular, as cast as a regular role. That would be Uhura. And so that was amazing. They had an Asian actor. What was his name?
George. I can't say his. Tasaki.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I butchered your name. I didn't try to.
Sulu, Mr. Sulu. So, yeah. Then as they develop their storylines, first it's like all humans basically, and as they develop their storylines, then they start adding in alien races, and the interactions with most alien races, at least friendly ones, is like, oh cool, you got features we recognize, so cool, you're one of us, you know. And as it progresses, it starts to get like developing sort of romantic interests in cross species. And again, no one bats an eye. It's generally very like, you do what you want, you know. We had was it Discovery? With Star Trek Discovery, you had Mr. Suru, who was I forgot the name of his species, but he was like an amphibious creature. Who was developing an intimate. Sorry, I don't know why it suddenly. Who's developed a sort of intimate situationship with a Vulcan, I believe it was a Vulcan.
Yes, she's a Vulcan.
Or was she a Romulan?
No, she's a Vulcan.
And so that was, you know, so that is an example of this sort of beautiful understanding of how we should all relate to each other, where our differences are noted, you know. and necessary. So in the case of some of these, they could use the skills that they have. Like Mr. Saru had certain specific skills in hunting and things like that. So his skills were frequently used because he could. But at the same time, they weren't noted as different. And so that's, again, Star Trek often goes on the ideals that we don't have these petty beliefs that people are better or superior or inferior. We're just all people and species, and so this theme of representation is seen all throughout Star Trek, and as we generally say, representation, DEI, representation is resistance. So the more representation we have, the more resistant we are to the demand of sameness and the demand of authoritarian control. And I think so. Then that's where we kind of talk about that stuff.
So one of the things that we wanted to touch on was the attack on anything that helps people to understand that there's not a lot of difference in being human. Because once you understand that you're all part of the same human collective, the only thing that's left is for humans to elevate, right? Because we're not fighting petty wars on, this race is better with this, and this race is better with that, or this gender is better with this gender. We are focused on elevating and maybe going into space, right? Star Trek, going towards the galaxy and heading out there and doing our thing, right? Terraforming strange new worlds, right? We're advancing in a way that advances the species. But if we focus on our differences, if you will, there's no room to elevate. And so that's why I feel like, and feelings are not facts, but I do feel like this administration came in and started attacking the very thing that would help humans to elevate, which is, oh yeah, that group of people is different than you. They're getting a leg up, and so you should do this to them and be okay with that. Or women have advanced, far from men, and so that now we need to change the system and degrade people who are educated because men haven't caught up to women. Instead of looking at why these things have happened, we're kind of going backwards in time. We're, right now, some of the hot button issues are like transgender people. They're not just arguing, the people that are anti-trans are not just arguing about transgender people going into bathrooms. They're arguing about them not being able to exist. And that's insanity. Like, they are human beings. So they have a right to exist. They have a right to love. They have a right to life. They're a human being. And so we should elevate and not care. And Star Trek is one of the first series that I watched in which they didn't care what the species was, if there was love to be had, or if there was a way to show that there weren't many differences in the species. Star Trek did it, and it was hard for me, some of the things, because some of them are creatures. Sorry, my beagle's being annoying. But if there was romances,
she has a thing with aesthetics. So.
Yeah. If there was a fish, like a fish guy, that fish guy could be with a human person, and that was really hard. Like, I was like, there was a spider looking thing, and I don't know what its name was, but it had eyes everywhere, and I was like, no, and that thing was hanging out with a human, as though they were chum chums, and there was nothing about difference, and so I think we need to get back to that if we want to leave this planet. If we want to, go explore space, we have to stop focusing on the things that don't matter down here. We have to stop banning books. We have to restore DEI so that we can understand other cultures and other groups.
Hold on, let me chastise my dog. Poppy, be quiet. All right, back to our regular study program. Yeah, so, all right, so some critical thinking here. Representation is resistance. So where do you see it making an impact? Where is our understanding of diversity, equity, inclusion? We don't have any problem with celebrating and noticing differences, right. But whenever we celebrate or whenever we notice differences to make one inferior or superior over the other, that's where the problems actually occur, right? So So the question to ask yourself here is representation, or where do you see it making an impact? Where is it making an impact? If we can demonstrate where it is making an impact in in a way that we just cannot deny, then we might be able to shed that light further out into the other half of the country. And so, so that concludes our little topic for today. So we wanted to end this with Star Trek teaches us to imagine a better future, and that's what we're trying to do here on Mind Over Media. That's why we have this program, to take stories seriously, to think critically, and to build a freer world. You don't have to say exactly that. You can say whatever you want. We're not going to do that, though.
I'm not going to cover all of that, but I do want to leave everyone with this. Do not let people make you feel weird about speaking out against things that you know are wrong. If you know what's wrong, you wouldn't want to be walking down the street and someone grab you and say, I'm going to send you to the Netherlands. You've never been to the Netherlands a day in your life. You don't want someone saying, you know what, I see your 11-year-old playing outside, but let's go ahead and lower that age limit so that we can marry that 11-year-old off. We know these things are wrong. We do. We know it's wrong to be racist against other people. We know that, it's wrong. I mean, absolutely wrong to look at a person who's worked their whole life and built a whole political career. They have the respect of their constituents. They've gotten 4 million votes for something, and then you say, oh, they slept their way to the top because you have nothing else to knock them down with. And then elevate a person that has 34 felony counts. And then elevate a person that has been accused and convicted of essaying somebody. Like, we know these things are wrong. Be like the people on Star Trek. Be like the Federation. Like, we have values to uphold: unity, diversity, doing no harm to groups of people. Do that. Resist authoritarian regimes. As resist things that are designed to make us devolve and designed to limit progress.
All right, and the thing that we said we're not going to do at the end is said for us to both at the same time say, until next time, live long and prosper. So, we're not going to do that together, but
live long and prosper.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Until next time.
And remember, again, we don't have paid partnerships, but we do have merch. We have affiliate links. Yeah. So if you are interested in the merchandise for that, just buy it.
It's only the things I showed you.
Yeah,
so, so that means that if you buy it, if you see the link here, then you're buying this cool book too, and this cool thing. So, and the shirts that we're wearing.
And on Alien Day, I have usually a ton of stuff, and we'll have links for that and statues and
some of this stuff we won't be able to make links for because
I'm gonna try.
I usually go pretty nuts and wild during Alien Day. Yeah. So yes, with that, we appreciate your time. I think I saw one person stop in, and maybe over time more people will stop in, and we'll sign off now. Yeah,
just remember that we're just starting out. We're doing our best. It'll get more succinct as we get used to doing this.
I really don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, we have no idea what we're doing, but we're not going to sit here and do nothing, right? We're going to be like the people on Star Trek. So